How does spiritual awakening feel? Well, there's a whole host of different things that you can feel and symptoms associated with spiritual awakening. Anything from sort of questioning yourself, feeling like confused, very lonely, overwhelming. For me, when I had my awakening, it felt like I jumped timelines. So suddenly I was living a life, and in a way it felt like nothing fit anymore, and questioning the decisions I'd made in my life. So very disorientating, discombobulating, very lonely. You can't really speak to your friends about it because you worry that you're going to be admitted to some sort of psychiatric unit. You know, you might end up finding that you feel quite low in mood. You want to spend a lot of time on your own just to work through things. But yeah, for me, it was kind of like a feeling that nothing fit. Like I jumped a timeline and I was suddenly in a place that I didn't feel, nothing felt right. And so you can end up withdrawing and to seek that solitude just to work out what on earth is going on. And you can have a real range of emotions through this, whether it's, you know, feeling very tearful, feeling angry, feeling a whole host of it can be quite negative. And you've got to be really careful here not to spiral and also not to become a victim and to recognise that this is your stuff to deal with. In the spiritual awakening also, there can be parts of it called the dark night of the soul, which I'll cover a little more. And that can feel like everything has just crumbled to the ground, a bit like a tower moment in tarot. And yeah, you can feel very hopeless, almost like you're trying to stop yourself falling into a void. So lots of things can come out of the woodwork with spiritual awakenings. For me, as I say, it was a real mix of emotions. I just wanted to spend a lot of time on my own. But also with spiritual awakening, when the first part of it happened, I felt incredibly expanded and it felt really good and very positive. But the problem really is you can end up sort of spiritually bypassing if you're not careful. Really what you need to do with a spiritual awakening is go to the dark side. You do need to look at the things that don't fit with you. You can't just gloss over them and be love and light and la la la. There's a lot of that out there. It's really important that when you have your spiritual awakening, you don't just push these things that don't fit aside and go, oh, well, I'll just carry on like this. You do need to look at the things that have been going on so you can put them right. And that can be quite difficult. Really, you know, it can be uncomfortable for you. But really where the light is in the darkness. So actually going into the shadow work is really important because you need to look at what patterns you've been playing out, things that have been holding you back. Perhaps not just things that you brought to life, but your ancestors have brought to this life that don't really fit. And so that can feel incredibly uncomfortable. But like I say, once you work through those things, it's absolutely fantastic because you have a much greater awareness of what you do want, what you don't want. And for me, there was lots of things that came up, like people pleasing, not having good enough boundaries, not feeling confident enough. There was anxieties, social anxieties. There were things that I needed to deal with from the past. There was inner child work. There was lots of things that I have done. And this is the great inner work that you must do, because if you don't do it, you will just keep coming back into patterns and cycles. So, you know, it's not about lighting a candle and, well, it is in some cases, but it's not just about lighting a candle and, you know, doing love and light practices. It is where the gold lies is really in the darkness, because once you've done that work, you don't keep getting pulled back into spirals. But yeah, it can feel uncomfortable. You know, we're very happy to be victims of our circumstances and blame other people and project our issues onto other people. But actually, when it comes to it, it's all about what you're doing inside. And that's where the inner work comes in. It's really about facing your darkness so that you can turn things, the shadows, the darkness, into light. And that's when you start to operate from a place of power. You don't need other people to justify you. You can make decisions from a really empowered place. You feel authentically you. You've taken off that mask. And so I would really encourage you that even if you feel your spiritual awakening is very difficult, that actually the end rewards that you get from doing your inner work is just so worth it. However, I would suggest that you go at your own pace and that you come in and out and dip in and out, because the work is tiring, whether it's work on letting go of people, cords that are connecting you, old hurts that you need to kind of forgive and let go of. This work you do need to spend time away from it as well, that you can't always be doing the work because it's tiring and it's hard. Because really what you're doing is you're facing yourself. And that can be scary and a bit real. And you do need to get away and have fun. I often find that I get to a point where I'm a bit wrung out and I need to step away from my spiritual practices, and that's fine too. But this is lifetime work. It's ongoing. It's about spreading it out and not just going, right, I'm going to have 6 months of really doing the work. This is a lifetime of work about coming back to yourself and your truth. So the other thing to mention here is some people have a spiritual emergency where they do need extra support, and if that is you and you're finding it really tough, obviously look for a mentor. I do a lot of work for that myself, but there are also people, if you're having a real emergency and things are really difficult and you just can't cope, look at getting hold of a transpersonal support person or a Jungian analyst, somebody to help you through your emergency. Anyway, I hope that's useful. As I say, expect all sorts of things to come out of the woodwork and feelings and signs and symptoms when you're having an awakening.